Wow, what a crazy video. Okay, well, let's get in on this. Hope you don't get pissed at me. I did record your Steve and Frankie part 1.5 because it just seems like the type of thing that's going to be pulled from the internet, and I just wanted to like gather the information I could from it. So I feel like there's a ton of information I don't know about what's going on. I don't do the Reddit thing. I don't do message boards. I don't do Discord. I'm pretty disconnected. I feel like I don't know, like I've stepped in some shit with the videos I've made and I really don't know what's going on. It sounds like there's a lot more drama than I really understood. So, watched your video with your wife, your stream, and I just want to right off the hop say, you two sound like very good people. You know, trolling is one thing, but if you're doing it for the right reasons, I think it's okay. Sometimes people need a kick in the ass to kind of like correct the ship, you know? My backstory on this is I kind of, like I said, I have no understanding of any of this stuff. I'm not on the message boards. I'm not on any of this stuff. I don't really understand it. So what I've done is I've come to this place organically. This is just what popped in my head, and this is where I ended up. So to hear that there's like this huge backstory and all these characters are involved, for me, it's just kind of like, wow, that's weird. For one thing, I never knew it was happening. And now that I'm in it, I'm like, well, do I want to peel back the layers and find out more? Or do I just want to shut the door and walk away? From what I'm understanding, Frankie seems to be... I never knew he was this approachable. I never knew that people were able to talk to him like you have. And I've seen him comment, you know, respond to my comments over the years on YouTube and stuff like that. But, you know, that's as far as it ever went. But for him to like call you on the phone and talk to you and all this kind of stuff it's interesting to hear. I agree with your position and your good wife's position on the hunt videos and the content. That was kind of one of the first things that tipped me off, and that's why I made my video. I didn't really mean that video to be a troll in the sense that I was trying to get a reaction. It was kind of just a stupid thing I put out, and then I found out it was trolling, if that makes any sense. Like I said, I'm very disconnected with all the stuff that's going on. I don't really understand it. So most of the time when I do something like that, I don't really think much about it. I didn't really think a whole lot of people were going to see it. I didn't think it was going to make a splash like that. So, but I did find it pretty upsetting that the size that Junt has gotten to, I don't even know his real name. The size he has gotten to is so unhealthy that I don't understand how this man functions in like daily life. And then, as like you have described, it's passed off as this jolly guy, you know, speaking in a colonial accent in a fancy way. Oh, yes, you know. And the problem is that it is normalizing that behavior. And I have people in my life that have died that are his size or were his size, and sometimes bigger. One of my close friends passed away about 15 years ago because he just ate himself to death, and he ended up in an oversized coffin. So, on a real note, it hurts to see people do this to themselves, and clearly he's hurting. I mean, people don't do this without there being a reason why. Without getting into too many details, I know a woman who's a family friend. Well, she's essentially family. And she eats like this because she was molested in an early age. So You know, it's a terrible thing, and there's always an abuse, or there's always a reason why it's happening to them. And in terms of like my own addiction of alcohol, I drank because I was trying to forget things, forget relationships with friends and family, and I mean, just all, there's a number of reasons. I was working a terrible job for many, many years, beating my body into a pulp, and my way of kind of getting through it was to drink, and it would help with the pain and also help with the stress and the abuses I've dealt with in the past. And it's how I coped for many years until my wife just said, that's it, you're done, you're not going to do this anymore. So she said that, and I continued, and then finally I just decided I was done. I got really, really drunk and got into a fight with some family members, and I just decided, like, that's the last time I'm gonna do that to myself. So I quit, and it sucks because I don't have a constant urge to drink, but I have a near daily urge that can pop into my head, and it's like, well, if I just went out, I bought a 6-pack, you know, a 6-pack isn't that bad. Or I look at people that drink and I think, well, they get to drink, why can't I? Why do they get to do something like that? It's messed up, but you know, once you get clean, your body just detoxes and you feel so much better. And I started playing hockey again, and I started running 5 miles every other day, and my life just got so much better. My wife was thankful. My kids, luckily they weren't old enough to really know when I was drinking, but it saved my marriage for sure. I don't think my wife would have put up with it much longer, but I can't imagine what Junt goes through. I mean, just putting on your clothes, just like putting on your shoes, putting on socks, wiping your own ass, taking a shower, all these things are exhausting for him. And I don't think he's ever going to recover from this. And I don't think Frankie thought about the impact of his actions, of essentially televising a man kill himself. And not only televising it, but profiting off of it. You know, it's one thing. I mean, it's as simple as, it reminds me of when Cobra was drinking alcohol that was DoorDash to him and drinking himself to death, and he was in organ failure, you know? Like, that's essentially what's happening. People gave him from DoorDash and gave him cash where he could go buy his own booze, and he drank himself to death and went into organ failure, and it's gonna happen to Junt as well. And there's no recovering from it, because the cascade of like complete system shutdown, it's already started for him. I'm sure he has diabetes. I'm sure he has high blood pressure. So it's weakened his heart. It's weakened his lungs. It's weakened his veins. It's weakened every organ in his body. It's weakened his bones. Just carrying that weight, and there's no recovering from it. It's just, he's already shortened his lifespan, and in order to get out of the situation, he would have to probably have gastric bypass, and the success rate is very low. And, you know, people on, what is that, the GLP-1s and all that kind of stuff, like, those work to a certain extent, but it's not going to be a drastic, fast change. So the guy's, he's going to die soon. I mean, There's no way around it. My friend was about his size, and he started getting sores on his body that would smell terrible, open wounds. And he'd wrap them and bind them, and, you know, he smelled terrible. He was rotting. His body was rotting. And he was dying. I mean, literally dying. And one day, I called him and he didn't answer the phone. And he was dead. Dead in his house. His friends tried to call him and no one would he wouldn't answer him. And so we called his family and they went and checked on him and he was gone. So, you know, these things are preventable with therapy, medication, those types of things. I mean, I didn't go to therapy. I didn't go to AA or anything like that. I just went to church and went to work, and my work became my therapy, and coming to peace with who I was and letting all the other shit go. You just gotta let the toxins out, everything out. And that's why when people, like, I think that's one of the main reasons why I got so heated about the toxic masculinity thing, is like, who I am saved my life. For all my faults and for all the great things I do, who I am saved me from becoming a statistic of alcoholism. And if I'm toxically masculine, then that's just too fucking bad. That's kind of how I feel about it. But if you're raw and primal in this world, people are afraid of you. Or, you know, I just don't want to get too deep into that, but going to church is a major thing. You have to go to the right church. You have to listen to the right people. You have to have the right people in the congregation. You gotta have some old people, some wise old people that can explain things to you, because they've been through all this stuff. And if you don't have that, you know, you can just become a victim of circumstance, because you're just not getting the right message to you. And they're like, when you talked about the feel-good churches, they're everywhere. They are everywhere. And a lot of times you can go to the right church, but you're not in the right mindset to accept the information, the knowledge you're getting. So that's another thing that they can totally just permafuck you, because you're just not ready for the right information, and you're not ready for the right church. So sometimes you have to go to some bad churches in order to find the right church. I guess that's kind of what I'm going with. And then not be ashamed for coming back. If you end up knowing the right church and having to come back to that church after trying it, some people are like self-conscious, and there's just really no room for that. You have to go back where you feel is necessary. And anyway, like I said, I think there's a lot going on behind the scenes that I don't understand, and if you guys want to have me on the pod and explain this to me, I feel like we're wasting good content if you're not explaining it. If that makes any sense to you. Like, it makes for good content to explain what you know to somebody who doesn't understand it. So maybe we can do something like that. I appreciate your message. You and your wife have put out a really cool statement there with that. Hopefully you're not mad at me for kind of cropping it, and because, like I said, I thought you guys would. It's the type of thing that's going to be deleted, and I wanted to glean as much information as I could off of it. Yeah, and it sounds like you guys are my type of people. So anyway, yeah, I agree with you, what you said, and I think maybe we should set something up for a podcast and talk about this kind of stuff because it's interesting to me. I want to learn about it, and like I said, I either have the opportunity to shut the door or open it and figure out what the hell's going on with this, because I kind of forced my way into this situation organically. I didn't realize this was going on, and I just stumbled into it. But anyway, yeah, that's all I have for this. Later.